Okay, is this recording now? So yeah, thank you everyone to join this event. Actually, this is the first time we host this event campaign, which is called the ML Paper Reading Club. So this is a totally new event series for us, especially for GG Hong Kong and GG Taipei, and also TensorFlow user group Taipei, because I would say in previously we usually will host AI ML study group in Hong Kong, which is off-site event, on-site event, which will talk about different kind of popular AI topics. For example, the generative AI, RAG, and also some latest topic related to LLMs. But we wanted to um, talk more about some advanced topics, especially those latest findings in the research papers. So therefore, we are going to open this new series of event called ML Paper Reading Club. So this event is co-hosted by GDG Hong Kong and also uh, TensorFlow User Group Taipei. So for us, we will have for each of the parties, we will have bi-weekly paper sharing. So this week I will share a paper, and then for next week it will perform by TensorFlow User Group in Taipei. Yeah, and for usually for GG Hong Kong, we will usually use English as our language medium because we want to attract more audience to join our event online. Yes, so but however, in the Q&A session, you are feel free to answer but to raise the question in Chinese, Cantonese, English. So both three language are fine for me. Yeah. So yeah. So now, before I'm going to talk about the ML paper, maybe let us also introduce the Tensor user group Taipei. So is there any representative to do the introduction?
Hi everyone, I represent the GDG Taipei and TensorFlow user group Taipei, and uh, it's our pleasure to co-host this kind of event with GDG Hong Kong, and hope guys can also join us event and join the event we host. And thank you everyone.
Okay, yeah, thank you. So yeah, let me share the screen because yeah, uh, I have prepared the slides. Yeah, so can you see the screen now? Yeah, good. Okay, let me stop. Oh, sorry. Yeah. So for us today's the topic is about the self-rewarding language models. So actually, this is a research paper, written by Better AI, and this is also quite a very popular paper because it proposed some uh, innovative ideas on how to do to improve the pre-trained LLMs by doing an iterative training of itself, including the model training, reinforcement learning, and also the data creation. Yeah. So this paper is just launched like on this year, the January of 2024, and there is also have some GitHub repository have mentioned that this is a kind of the best ML paper of the week. So therefore, I select this paper to share with you guys to have a look on what is the idea of self-rewarding language models. So basically, the whole idea is they propose to train the language model to provide their own rewards during the training process. So in order to achieve superhuman performance, which means that the language model is responsible for doing the instruction tuning, create the new data for the reinforcement learning, and also they will use the direct preference optimization, the DPO, to uh, train the model itself in a better way. Yeah. So before I'm going on the methodology, I will want to talk some background information and the related work. So back to 2020, the late 2022, ChatGPT launched and they have used a very popular methodological reinforcement learning from human feedback, and we usually call RHF. And this method it helps the model to respond human prompts or questions um, in a more controllable way. So for the first step is we have a pre-trained model, and then we will do a very typical um, supervised learning based on the instruction data. And the second step is after we have construct instruction tuning, we perform the instruction tuning, and then we have a set instruction tuning model, and then we will use it to do a further training on the preference data. The preference data is built by humans, which annotates with uh, with a same prompt whether uh, is there any output is outperform better than other output, and then we will use this to build a preference data set. And this preference data set will use to train the reward model. And finally, we will use the well-trained reward model to generate um, to do a PPO policy training here. And last year, because you will see that for reinforcement learning from human feedback involves lots of process, which is quite complicated in the implementation. And also we need to use much more computational resources to implement this process. So therefore, there's another paper to propose a new methodology called direct preference optimization, which is DPO. And the advantage of DPO is we do not need to retrain a reward model and do the PPO training, but instead we will just simply to train uh, our own LLMs. So, but we still need, first of all, we still need the preference dataset, and then we will using the maximum likelihood to do the training, the optimization on the language model responses, and it is equivalent to do the reinforcement learning from human feedback. So at so you can see the number of process is significantly reduced because you only use the original model to fine tune it with using the maximum likelihood. So it simplifies all the training process. And this process will also be used in this paper. Yeah. And another concept I want to introduce is the reinforcement learning from AI feedback. So in the original way, we will use human to annotate the preference dataset. But however, as we all know, for humans, we will have biases on the judging process, so that someone will challenge whether the preference dataset is a trustworthy way to improve the responses by the LMs. So someone have proposed that how about we using another foundation models to get feedback uh, from some prompts. And what you can see this graph, what we have replaced is the human, and we will also use another feedback model, or maybe we use some powerful foundation model like GPT-4 to do an evaluation on the output. Usually we'll have a prompt. The prompt will also mention all the guidelines on how to do the evaluation. And based on the prompt and also the inputs that we need uh, to be evaluated. And the feedback model will output the score or also, or maybe some the preference pair uh, of different outputs, and then we use those data to build our own preference data set. And another concept is about the data augmentation with LLMs. So this is also really important because nowadays, if we want to um, rapidly to build our model with instruction tuning, we usually use lots of synthetic data, and this terminology is equivalent to synthetic data because we want to use some foundation models to generate some new data, and those new data will be also fit into our target model to do the instruction tuning. So I would say the first paper that implement it is the self-instruct, which will have some seed task and also instruction in a task pool. And then we will do some instruction generation based on the seed task. And after that, we will also do some generation on the um, responses based on the instruction. And then we use those data set to do the instruction tuning of on our target language models. So this can greatly to reduce the process or maybe the time cost for humans to annotate those data sets. So, and one of the most famous work is the alpaca. Alpaca is also doing a very good job on using the instruction tuning data in a but it is a synthetic data, and then they will use the DaVinci model to generate some new data, and then it results in a new 52K instruction following examples, and those synthetic data will be trained on Llama 7B model to improve the results by the supervised fine tuning, and then they result in building a alpaca 7 model which it has a better performance on instruction following tasks. And yeah, and this should be the last concept I want to introduce is the LM as a judge. LM as a judge, it means that we want to actually it's quite similar to we need to discuss on the reinforcement learning from AI feedback. We also want to use the very good foundation model to judge whether A or B's output is better. And you can see in this examples, LM as a judge is given there is a question and then there is two different versions of answer, the assistant A and assistant B. And then we will want to use the GPT-4 uh, to judge which one is actually the correct answer. Because as we all know that for GPT-4, the reasoning skills is usually is quite good in general. So you can see that for here the GPT-4 is act as a judge and to see whether which answer is correct. So back to this paper, basically for self-rewarding language model for this paper, they're trying to combine um, the concepts that we have discussed previously, and then to do iterative feedback in a loop to self-improve the language model itself. So you can see there is a very clear flowchart here to describe the whole process of this paper that they want to implement. So first of all, we will have some seed data set, which is the generated new prompts. And then we also have a seed model. The seed model, you can also say it is a pre-trained model, maybe like Llama 2, Mistral, those pre-trained model. And after we have the pre-trained model and some new generated prompts, we want to use the pre-trained model to generate some response first. And after we generate some response, we want to use those response and then to use the same model to generate the rewards. And after we generate rewards, we can base on the reward score to construct a preference pair. And after construct a preference pair, and then we can do the DPO training and to improve the model. And after that, we will get an improved version of the pre-trained model, and then we'll use this newer version of model to do the process again and again, so that we can keep improving the model itself. Yes, and then for the whole chart, it involves two steps. The first step is the self-instruction creation, and also the second step is the instruction following training, which means first of all, we need to use the same language model to create new instruction by itself and also the evaluation. And then we use those data to do the instruction following training. And for, yeah, and then for this slide, it just very briefly to tell the initialization step. First of, and actually in the initialization step, we also still need some human data, but it is a very small scale. Seed data, we also rep- use these terms to represent it. So for the seed instruction follow data, it is a very typical data set that we usually is the format is we have an instruction prompt, and then we have a response based on the prompt. And for the uh, LM as a judge instruction follow data, is actually basically in to simplify the rodents is actually an evaluation data set, which means we'll have prompt to require the LM to do the evaluation process, and then based on the input and also the prompt statement, and then the model will respond maybe a reward score or the reward score to represent how good is the in the as the input here. So you can see there here is the examples. Just screenshot uh, the prompt here, which is used to generate the reward points of the given instruction and the response. So the first step is we will going to um, generate a new prompt, and then we will also generate different responses based on the prompt, and we use those candidates to do the evaluation process based on the prompts inside the green boxes. And then we will going to evaluate the score from 0 to 5. Yeah, which 0 is the lowest quality of the response, and then 5 is the highest one. Highest one. Yes, and then you can also see for the prompt description, there is some kind of criteria that the LM have to follow for the scoring. And then you can also see that it is not just giving the score, but also they have some brief explanation on why the LM need to give a certain amount of score with up to 100 words. Yeah. So after we doing this kind of evaluation, uh, eventually we will want to build a preference data set. The preference data set will be something like this: is um, we will have chosen and the rejected pair. The chosen one is, of course, is the uh, response with a better quality and what we wanted. And for the rejected one is we don't want this kind of responses to be appear in the future. So totally, we will have three paths for each example, which is the instruction prompt, the winning response, and also the losing response. Yeah. So in overall, in this paper, they do this process like a few times. So and also they have the following annotations on the model version. So basically, for M0 means they do the pre-training LM with no any fine tuning. And for the M1, which is the first version, is they do the fine tuning process based on the instruction fine tuning data and also the evaluation fine tuning data. So let me go back to the slide. As you can see in this slide, there are two parts of initialization, which is the instruction following data and also the LLM as a judge instruction following data. So these two different types of data will also used to do the first step of the fine tuning process because when we go forward for this paper, you can see that actually the evaluation um, instruction tuning data set is also very important for the LM to understand how to score um, a certain response in a more accurate way. So we will use two different data, the IFT and also the EFTC data, to do the supervised fine tuning. And the second step is based on the new generator M1 model. We will do DPO training with using the AI feedback data generated by the M1 model. And then after first time DPO, we will do the second time of DPO training with using the AI feedback train data from the M2 model. And then eventually we will result in MC in the latest version M3 model. Yeah. And then you can see we will also have these four versioning models, which it is expected that the performance will keep improving. Okay. So let me talk about some of the key results. So after this iterative process of training, you will see that in terms of the instruction following ability, you can see uh, the win rate of the latest version of the model and also the baseline model. You can see usually there are 62.5% win rate when you compare M3 and the baseline model. And you can also see that there's the chart for M1 actually it even perform worse than the baseline model a bit. But after the DPO process, the win rate is significantly improved, and then you can see it improves almost a double on the win rate. Yeah. Okay. And also, if we use those data to do the human evaluation, you can also see that the the win rate is also keeps improving, and you can see for the latest version M3 model, the win rate is also uh, achieved to 66%, and while for the M1 model, it just achieved around like 28%. And yeah, and also apart from the win rate comparison, we also use some data set like Alpaca Eval 2.0 to compare the performance. So as you can see, this kind of evaluation data it involves different topics, and also when we compare the win rate with uh, the model, and you can see that for the M3 model, the win rate is 20.44% when we compare it to GPT-4 Turbo. Even of open source model for like Claude or even some proprietary model like Gemini Pro, the win rate is also not as good as the M3 model. So you can see effectiveness of the um, you can see the effectiveness of this self-rewarding approach. And there's also have some interesting finds is that when we going to do some comparison, doing some comparison on the win rates, like the category on mathematics, you can see that those kind of win rates is very close um, to the baseline. And yes, and because usually because it's hugely affected to the what we feed the data. And for this experiment, we can see that the original data set is not focusing on those type of categories data here. which on the right hand side. So you can see that on those categories, they not perform quite quite well, even even for several iterative training. And there is also have some different benchmark results like the MT bench and also the NLP benchmark. And as I also see that there is some mathematical data like GSM, AK, and also some um, popular evaluation data set on academic topics like MMLU. Some of them it keeps increasing on the accuracy or the correctness of the question answering, but you can see for GSM, AK, this kind of have task evaluation. When we train, you can see the M3 model itself, the performance is not even better than the M1 model. So basically because for M1 model is supervised fine-tuning process, which based on the high quality data we built by in with human. But however, for M3, the data source are from the model itself, so it would be have some hallucination on the reasoning steps. So it maybe is a reason for us to see that there is a drop on the correctness and accuracy in GSM HK. Yeah, and the last part is about the limitations. So for the limitations, you can see that the whole experiment is quite preliminary because for the DPO process, it just performed like 2 times, and then we still need to have more data or experiment to test whether the self rewarding training is really true in in general, because what we can see that is in different categories, the win rate is not even distributed. You can see some of the categories are not performing quite well than some other categories. So we still need to have more experiments on it. And also for the authors, it also suggests that we need to understand the scaling loss of these methods, and also it's also important to investigate the safety evaluation and training. Yeah. So actually, this is the overview of ML paper, and actually for the ML community, they have built some interesting projects based on this idea. So let me give you have a look on it. Yeah. There are two GitHub repository is about which is about this paper. The first one is the self-rewarding and PyTorch, which they have tried to implement this kind of method with using PyTorch, and also there is a newer one called self-rewarding language model repository, but which is also trying to replicate the process uh, proposed by this paper. So maybe I can share this tab. So this one is the first street. You can see there's 1.2K stars, and then you can also see the implementation here is actually just install this um, do the pip install, and then you can see there is a simple usage, which means first of all we declare a transformer architecture here, and then we will create some data set. With this, the first one is the supervised fine-tuning set, and then the second one is the prompt data set, and then we also have, you can see there is a very simple function declaration called self-rewarding trainer. We just need to plug in the transformer architecture and also the fine-tuning configuration, how the number of steps to do the DPO, and also the supervised data set here, the prompt data set here, and then and then also the tokenized arrangement here, and then we can simply to do this kind of training, the self-rewarding training. So I can also let you see the another repository. So this one, I would say it's more intuitive because you can see there is a set of Python files named from 0 to 5, and then you can see how you can see the Python code in step-by-step approach, and then to see how the process works for this self-reward algorithms. So the first step is we'll do the self fine-tuning, supervised fine-tuning, and then we're going to generate the prompts, to do to generate some new data, and then we also use those generated prompts to generate the response. So as you can see for this repository implementation is defaulted with using Mistral 7B model. And then after that, we will also have a score generation based on the results and prompts. And after that, with gathering all the required data, we can build a preference data set. And then we can just call this Python file to build this data set. And the last step is we do the DPO training. And here's all the implementation. Yeah. So yes. So actually that's all what we want to discuss on this ML period, the self-rewarding language model. So yeah, feel free to raise any questions. The DPO optimization technology gap less than our HFY display will use DPO. I would say why they use DPO. I think it really depends on the author interest, especially for at that time DPO is really a very popular approach that we want to replace RLHF. So I would say it's a kind of strategy to to use this approach because it also kind of a strategy to arouse more people to focus on this paper. But I would say for other optimization method, I would say it's also interesting um, to observe it in the future. And also what I mentioned before is this paper is a very preliminary study, and we still need have to do more experiments in the future. Yeah. Yes. Yeah. Maybe I'm not quite clear to talk about the pre-trained model. Actually, for this paper, they are using the Llama 27B model to do the data generation. And yes, I would say the cost is expensive to reproduce this work. So for the community, they are trying to use the Mistral 7B. So for like this project here, yeah, this one. In default, they are using the Mistral 7B to do the process and also as a pre-trained data. Yeah, because as we all know that the Mistral 7, although it's just a very small model, but in terms of its performance, is also comparable to like the Llama 2 7B model or even outperforming. So if you want to do some self experiment on this method, you can maybe just um, use this repository to do some experiment on yourself. Um, Actually, in my point of view, I would say that smaller models may not have the same results because, as you can see, that the whole process is iterative process, and the data generation, the reward score are also generated by the model itself. So I would say the pre-trained model quality is the key point or is the prerequisite of making this method to be succeed. So if your pre-trained model is not in a T or already produce some bad responses easily, so it's not a good start for you to use this model to implement this process. I- Yeah, it's opinion. I was wondering whether the generated prompt will start to shift goals or preference if the iteration is long. This is also a good question. I think if we continue the iteration, I would say because as we all know that for LLMs, it will have the chance of producing hallucinating results. And also um, during a multiple time of iteration of training in a certain domain, it may also have the catastrophic forgetting issue. I remember that term is like this. And then maybe in some of other um, performance or I would say in general, the performance in some area may drop, but in some certain domain it will improve. And that's how the other paper studies they have concluded this kind of observation. If we use AI to assess the performance of the result it generates, how can we ensure it is not degraded quality? Which benchmark should we employ in this such a scenario? Okay, so for the current research approach, we will usually um, use a very promising foundation model. So basically, most of the research will use GPT 3.5, GPT 4 to do the data generation. So I would say that if we want to ensure it doesn't degrade the quality, we also need to do some evaluation on the data quality. For example, maybe in this paper, after you generated some data on by your own LM itself, maybe you also need to use another models to do the evaluation for double checking. Is prompt generation essential because narrow scope prompts lead to bad performance of all categories after whole training? I think that will depends on your scope of your prompts, which means your seed data. If your seed data, the scope is quite sparse or in is not quite narrow, and then it will not be too easy to focus on such a very specific topic, and then it will also help to alleviate the problems of forgetting issues of foundation models. Yes. So I would say this paper, it seems I would say it aroused lots of people awareness on how to do the self-rewarding training, and but also somebody will also have some um, comments on it's too good to be true, which means we also need to do a lot of preparation uh, or data filtering on the initial seed data. The seed data quality is the most important factor um, if for building a good model with using this approach. So is there any questions? Yeah, so maybe if okay, what's the GPU requirement to try this? Um, Basically, if you need to do the full precision, the full training, and of course you need to use more resources on it. But I'm not sure whether this two repository is already integrated with doing um the efficient fine tuning or also other stuff. So I think maybe if you want to do this approach, you can try to use this smaller model first. Actually, I'm thinking whether instead of Mistral 7, I'm thinking whether uh, I remember the fine two B mod Microsoft one is it also effectively to use it as a pre-trained model? I'm not quite sure, but you may also to try it. Yeah. What is how is the win rate of improved model determined of uh the win rate is usually determined by GPT-4. Yeah, as I remember. Yeah, most of the paper is using trustworthy foundation model. Basically, just GPT-4 to see which of the responses or is better. Yes. Uh, so if we don't have further questions, before I ended this meetup, I want to know whether you understand this topic. I would just because this is the first time I'm doing this ML pair reading club. So I just want maybe you can just type in the chat group. Is it comfortable for you to um continue to do some sharing on this kind of paper? Because I understand that some participants may not have a very rich background on the AI, and maybe they are just beginner, but um, they so that they need to have more understanding on those concepts. Yeah, yeah. And also maybe want to ask, is there any interesting topic you want to hear about in the maybe in the future in the next week? Yeah. The mixture of expert model. Actually, last week there is ML paper reading club hosted by the TensorFlow user group Taipei, and they already talk about the mixture of experts. Yeah, maybe if anyone remember the YouTube link, I remember there is a YouTube link, so you can just go to YouTube and type maybe um TensorFlow user group Taipei and to see whether there. Oh yeah, thank you. There's YouTube link already in the chat room, so you can just refer it and then to see it. Yeah, yeah. I think Chinese is okay because for Hong Kong Hong Kong people we usually know Mandarin, but we just usually seldom use it. But it is still able to for us to understand it. Yeah. Yeah, great, great. Yeah, and also apart from us maybe asking for your feedback, I also wanted to know because building a reading club or other community event is the most important thing is we want to be more sustainable so that I would say maybe after this event I will release a form for all the audience. And if you also if you are also interested in doing such kind of presentation, you can just feel free to approach us or fill in the form and then to see which kind of topic you are interested to talk about it. Yeah, we hope that we have more people to join our community to share what you want about AI ML. Yeah, because as we all know that for my own input is limited. So I just hope that we can have more um, people to join to contribute this ML community. Yeah. For future gatherings, there's yes. Maybe this time I can also I will make a GitHub repository on behalf of GDG Hong Kong, and then we will annotate all the references, including my slides URL, and also some references on for example, like the GitHub link, like what I'm presenting, and also also the paper that related to today's paper. So, for example, maybe there are some papers related to uh yeah maybe there are some paper related to at DPO reinforcement from AI feedback. So those paper are also also interesting for us to study. So maybe I also add some reference link on this topic for your own studies because because as we all know that there are too much ML papers long released every week. So it's impossible for us to cover every um, famous ML paper in every meetup. So for some maybe older papers, we'll just give you the reference link for you to for your own studies. Yeah. Okay. So I think that's all what I'm going to present. So maybe yeah. So maybe we will end this meeting room. So thank you all your joining. Yeah. Thank you very much.